Dream. You remember that guy? Well, he's back, and he has upset pretty much 100% of his viewer base. And to be honest, this is probably the most tedious, pointless, and completely avoidable situation since, well, yesterday. But regardless, it has absolutely exploded, especially among former fans of the Dream SMP creators. One of these creators being Tommyinnit, the one who completely by accident started this whole Twitter war. And what basically started as a joking insult at the streamer Mizkif,
stood outside the hotel and little weaselly Mizkif rolls on over to me.
has turned into this massive back and forth involving people like XQC, Jack Manifold, Tubbo, and Dream. This drama has been dragged on for days now, and I've actually been sitting on this for a while because nobody can seem to shut up. Like, I can go to sleep and wake up and a massive creator has posted like a 3-hour-long stream going over everything, and then another streamer has to react to that stream and give their take, and since everybody seems to be involved here, it's just so tedious and annoying. Literally, what started as a joke has turned into the biggest cringe fest of all time. But enough yapping. Let's get into the Tommyinnit versus Dream situation. I'm too sick for this shit. On January 8th, Dexerto would post, quoting Tommyinnit, calling Mizkif the worst person he's met all year.
The worst person I met award.
Oh, for me, it's so easy.
Go on.
Mizkif. Piss me off, the twat. Just the way he
You
looked.
barely even met him. You just like
He just
stood
wouldn't
near him for a bit.
Oh, I hate it. Have you ever just hated someone based off nothing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, that clip is from his podcast with Jack Manifold called Shut Up, I'm Talking. I watched a few episodes, it's kind of funny. I've had on some pretty cool guests, but that clip isn't the only one in where they talk about Mizkif, and there's another one that actually adds a little bit more context.
You forced me and Harry to leave the party to come pick you up from the hotel.
Yeah, because I'm stood outside the hotel and little weaselly Mizkif rolls on over to me.
Weaselly.
Yeah. He's like, and I'm like, shut up, Mizkif. And he goes, and I'm dead inside. And he looks at me, and I go, this is what I say to him. I go, you're right? And he goes, what do you mean, am I all right? And he takes it as an insult because Americans are stupid. And he goes, are you all right? And he's like, what do you mean, am I all right? And he starts getting tense with me. And I'm like, are you all right? And he's like, what do you mean, am I all right? And I was like, how you doing? He's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm fine. Why don't you just say that? And I was like, so hungry. The little stupid Mizkifs down here looking up at me. I'm getting so annoyed.
I personally find this clip kind of funny. It's a little mean, but I don't know, I wouldn't take it too seriously. And if I were Mizkif, I would just respond with like a joke, if I were to respond at all. And at first, that's what Mizkif did. He's British, is what Mizkif had to say. Which, honestly, is also kind of funny. I think that's the right move. But what Mizkif did next was so, it pretty much sums up this entire situation, which is just a huge overreaction.
When I was talking to Tommyinnit, he was probably one of the most insufferable people that I've ever talked to in my fucking life. When I was sitting there waiting for Masayoshi to pop up, Tommyinnit is just standing there like a complete prick and looking like such a jackass. I'm trying to just sit there and wait for Masayoshi. I say hello to him, and he gives me the rudest stare you could ever imagine. I'm like, what is your fucking problem? What the hell did I do to you, you stupid British fuck? So we're just standing there, and I'm like, how you doing? I'm just trying to make small talk with the guy because the guy's acting like such a jackass looking at me like I did something wrong to him. It's like, newsflash, bro. Schlatt still messages me, okay? Put your fucking little Tommyinnit button up away.
So, yeah, Mizkif basically just crashes out on stream, which is a pretty big L, not gonna lie. And then Tommy would pretty much put the nail in the coffin by saying, you're just really hard to talk to, which, judging by the clip, is probably the case. To me, he's pretty much just saying, it's not that deep, which it isn't. And no hate to Mizkif or anything, I don't know anything about him outside of this situation, but not a good look. And I was not the only one who had that opinion. And in comes our next contender. XQC essentially swooped in and called the entire thing cringe. Swooped in is, I guess, a bit of an exaggeration, because he briefly talked about it on stream, and despite his lack of specificity and not singling out either party in this situation, Tommyinnit took it very personally. To be more cringe than Tommyinnit is pretty hard, but you pulled it off, pal. And then he shows a picture of XQC shaking hands with Trump while wearing an oversized t-shirt with Trump's face on it. Tommyinnit obviously doesn't like the orange man, and that's completely fine, but I don't see how you can look at this image and not laugh at how ridiculous this is. I don't understand how you can take anything XQC does seriously and actually get mad at it. So yeah, Yeah, kind of a disappointing response from Tommyinnit. The best thing to do probably would be to just not respond at all, but I really can't say much because XQC's response to Tommy's response wasn't much better. From doing streams in my basement to doing streams with the president, how is that a diss? You went from deriding Dream for a living to making jokes to teenage girls. Lock in. My only problem with this response is him comparing his content to Tommy's. Like, his job is pretty much sitting behind a computer and, I want to say reacting, but he just watches other people's content. Now, to be fair, Tom's stand-up kinda cringe. He has a couple funny moments.
Does anyone else have a job they want? You there, sir, what is it, eh?
I run a local record label.
Local record label? Okay.
I make no money from it whatsoever.
Well, then, my friend, that is not a job.
But for the most part, objectively, not the best. But in my opinion, what Tom is doing is way more respectable and requires way more effort than anything XQC has ever done. So basically, my problem with this response, and I guess most responses so far, is that they're just too serious. Like, it's not a big deal. I feel like these influencers' egos get the best of them and they just crash out. But then, completely out of left field, with no warning whatsoever, Dream posts this. Growing up, becoming a retarded Tommyinnit fan, Dream SMP stands. Which is just crazy. Now, I think before I move on, I should provide a little bit of a backstory. Almost 5 years ago to this day, the Dream SMP completely took over Minecraft YouTube. The Dream SMP was a Minecraft server ran by Dream and his friends. The content creators featured on the server included Wilbur Soot, Tubbo, Tommyinnit, and a plethora of others, including J-Schlatt.
Why don't you come into my cuck shed?
And a little bit of a personal note here. Back in middle school, during lockdown, I watched probably every video Tommy and Wilbur put out there on their perspective on the Dream SMP. I thought it was pretty entertaining at the time, and while it would seem Tommyinnit and Dream got along pretty well, recently we started learning about some cracks that formed beneath the surface. And this brings us back to the Shut Up I'm Talking podcast. In an episode with Phil's of Minecraft, they talk about some problems that Tommy and Jack had with Dream. Now, the clip itself, although it's been re-uploaded quite a few times, it was originally on their Patreon, so I don't really feel comfortable playing it on the video, so I'll just summarize it. Basically, they go over an argument Tommy had with Dream, and where Dream gets very upset and essentially takes credit for all of Tommy's success, saying that he made him. Up until this point, nobody really knew of any animosity between Tommyinnit and Dream, at least publicly. It actually seemed like they were good friends. They made hours and hours of content together, and their communities are pretty intertwined. So to come out and call a very large progressive portion of his viewer base what they believe to be a slur is actually moronic. Forget the whole is it okay to say that word or whatever. We'll get to that. To take the sort of holier than thou stance on this word on several occasions and then to turn around and so casually use it on your own audience is crazy. Like, what an idiot. And it's so hypocritical too. Rules for thee and not for me, I guess. And to be clear, that word does not offend me in the slightest. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. I don't care. It's just from a logical standpoint, it makes no sense. Why would you say that and then get so surprised when people get on your case? And boy, did they. But before I go any further, I just want to say Dream did eventually apologize. And we'll get to that later. Just keep that in mind. You had people from all corners of the internet absolutely dogpiling on this guy. I really like this one. Donald Trump has announced Dream as head of disability awareness and sensitivity. And this would all only be made worse by how Dream would continue to handle this situation. Tommyinnit would post, "No way did I make Dream say the R slur again. Actual bastard." I honestly would have respected Dream more if he had just left it at that. I think that would be kind of funny. But nope, he went on to post a 4-paragraph essay on Reddit talking about how he thought it was okay to say that word, considering he had been subjected to that same kind of hate. He says, obviously it's the internet being disingenuous, but that doesn't completely invalidate anyone that might be upset by it. Most of the people calling me ableist for using it are the same people that lit off fireworks when Nicholas Cantu was the slur-slinging slasher, including Tommy's closest friends. It's either okay or it's not okay. The double standards are infuriating. Now, if you don't know about the Nicholas Cantu stuff or his other past controversies, he covered it in one very long video about a year ago. It's a pretty well-made video that I think needed to be made. So go check that out if you want a little bit more context. Dream would then go on to say that he has his own problems with Tommy being the internet police and lying about him constantly to promote his Patreon and other projects. Although this Reddit post has been deleted, he does elaborate further on this point in future responses. He would then end the post by saying, "Either way, my lesson from this is that Twitter is somehow even less reasonable than I thought in the first place. Oh, and don't use the R word under any circumstance, even when you see a funny meme and you're autistic. Lesson learned. Hopefully I can be forgiven." Back to coding. His first mistake was underestimating how unreasonable Twitter users can be, but also, they're not just Twitter users. They are your fans. They are your viewers. They are people who used to watch you. Like, his viewer base consists almost entirely of progressive teenage girls. How is he surprised that he's getting all this hate? And obviously, this response was not very genuine. I would hardly even call it an apology. So, of course, this only made things much worse for him. Tubbo and Jack Manifold would end up doing their own streams responding to Dream.
Years and years of this guy being like, you know, fucking, hello, my fans, I am good. I would never say slurs. I would never do all this. And he just drops a slur. But I'm more shocked because the beef wasn't even about him. No one mentioned him.
That night, Dream would do a 3-hour-long live stream covering everything. Now, I'm not going to cover it in too much detail because everything he brings up that's relevant anyway is covered again later in a much shorter video. And I'm sorry, but you could not pay me to sit through 3 hours of that. And 3 hours, dude. Oh my god. You could count on one hand the number of times Tommy has talked about this. 3 hours is insane. The only notable thing to come out of this stream was Dream's psychotic crash out.
All my evil plan! It's come together! All of the members on the Dream SMP are under NDA! And they have been for years! And I've been siphoning every dollar they've made from all the clout that I gave them! Because I made every single one of them! And I have their parents' numbers, and I will have them executed! Executed! If they say another bad word! Another bad word!
All right, are you, done?
They
Okay.
will perish. I will kill all of them. And also, secretly, I hate all of you. All of you. Because of your gender and your sex. And because I'm homophobic. I hate all of you. And I always have.
A little dramatic, don't you think?
You got
oh my
me.
God.
But it's too late. It's gone through. The plan has been executed. I'll see you guys soon. In hell.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys sit with that one for a second. That was hard to watch. I mean, it's pretty obvious he was going for some, like, ironic villain monologue thing. Oh, and by the way, I added the Homelander music in after. He actually sounds that psychotic, it just fits so well. He tried kind of making fun of what other people were saying about him, and it completely blew up in his face. People clowned on him even more. Without the context of the rest of the stream, it's hard to see how Dream could ever be in the right, but I promise I won't be nearly as hard on him going forward. The next one to fire back was Tommyinnit, with his own main channel video.
Hello, this video is a message to Dream. If you've been off the internet the past couple days and haven't kept up, basically, if you're one of my subscribers, Dream has called you a slur. So deal with that how you want.
Powerful start there. Make the audience feel like they've been personally attacked. Very bold and effective strategy.
Okay, now look, I have Dream blocked on everything and I intend to keep it that way. So Dream, hello mate, let's just dive right in, shall we? Let's talk about you calling all my fans the arslur. You can't throw around the arslur, mate. You just can't. My mum worked with adults with disabilities, and since I was 12, I volunteered with her. These are real, fucking amazing people, who I think of like family, who actually get called this slur. And you do not just throw it around. It's impossibly immature and reckless and sets such a shitty precedent to everyone. Shame on you, man.
Tommy does a great job of appealing to the people he wants to persuade. Not even a minute in, and it's already kind of hard to argue with Tommy without looking like kind of an asshole. Great use of pathos there. See, I remember something from English class.
In your stream you did, you slagged off a lot of my pals. Come on, mate. I mean, my friends are all idiots, but they have bloody good hearts. However, with your group, I cannot believe how the George stuff from a year ago went down. I cannot believe the response to it online. It's disgusting. It's sexist, man. And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
Okay, another backstory. He talks about the George stuff from a year ago. Basically, Dream's friend and collaborator in almost all of his videos, George Not Found, was accused of essentially SA, by another streamer named Katie Bugs. The situation was never really resolved. She just ended up quitting the internet because she didn't actually have any evidence to back up her claims. And when you accuse somebody of such a thing with really nothing to back it up, you're gonna get a lot of hate. A lot of the claims she made were easily refuted, which understandably led a large portion of the internet to believe that Katie was lying. But I don't know why Tommy would bring this up in his video, as it's not really relevant to the situation at all. He says he can't believe the response to it online, but what does that have to do with Dream? George actually told everybody not to harass Katie. I can't imagine why he would bring this up other than to make Dream look worse. And then he goes even further to say that the way he talks about women behind the scenes is incredibly sexist. Another bold claim with really nothing to back it up.
Now, mate, talk about me and you. You've basically spent the past day calling me a dickhead. And look, pal, I have made mistakes, and I'm going to make loads more. But the difference is, I give a shit. I'm trying. I'm putting in effort, and I really care. And I take responsibility when I've fucked up. Dream. 4 years ago, you were awful to me. When I was 16, you gave me YouTube advice, and you held that over my head for years. You didn't treat me like an equal, and you made me feel small.
This is one of those times where I wonder, why am I even covering this? This part completely boils down to whether you believe Tommy or not. Because, again, no proof. Not calling him a liar or anything, I'm just saying it's irresponsible to believe this stuff when you haven't seen any reason why you should. Of course, it's just as irresponsible to disbelieve everything and call him a liar, but it's really just a he said, she said kind of situation.
The Dream SMP, a lot of your success just wouldn't have happened without me. Streaming every single night on the server and caring about everything as much as I did. And you made me feel small about that. And I was a kid. Shame on you, man. And you knew what you were doing, because I've watched you do it to other people too. And if you didn't, and that was just an accident, then fucking hell, man.
Again, no proof, but believe what you want.
You called me a promoter of all my other projects I do in your Reddit post too? Yeah, man, are you stupid? Of course I promote all this stuff. But the difference between me and you is I actually give a shit. I put effort, my absolute best, into all these new things. I'm going to talk about my brilliant podcast because I'm really proud of it. Or the book I spent months writing. Or comedy. I mean, mate, I've ditched the internet for a year to do the rounds in tiny pubs, to do the stand-up comedy circuit the legitimate way, because of people like you. People who have ruined this space. And that takes balls. Courage. I'm not just selling USB baby photos or lazily designed merchandise, alright? I'm doing the best with what I have.
I'm not going to spend any time defending Dream here because, well, I don't really care, but Dream also does defend himself on this point later. And I will say that USB baby photos thing, that was a terrible idea.
I'm nearly the age you were when you met me, and if I acted the way you did to a 16-year-old who looks up to you, I'd be so ashamed of myself, man. Now, finally, Dream, mate. You harassed my mum as she was going through a divorce, the worst time of her life. You tried to harm the relationship between me and my mum. And if we weren't best friends, with the shit that you were saying, you probably could have really harmed that, mate. You are like a proper movie villain. I have watched you take advantage of vulnerable people and use them to benefit yourself. I have watched you lie to fans, to me, to people, and take no responsibility afterwards. You are incapable of taking any criticism. You refuse to change anything about yourself. You reframe everything so that you are the victim.
So that was Tommy's video. It was pretty well received among most people, at least his fans, but it didn't take long for Dream to come out with his own main channel video, addressing everything he addressed in his stream, just in a much better way.
Tommyinnit posted a video yesterday that was titled Dream, where he said a lot of stuff about me that isn't true, but he did correctly criticize me for something that I want to apologize for before I respond to the rest of his video. I posted a meme on Twitter that used the R word, and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, genuinely. I think it's important to acknowledge right off the bat that that's not right. That's not how you should behave. I shouldn't have done it. Period.
Starting off with this apology is definitely the right move. That is definitely what most people were concerned with.
Now I want to talk about Tommy's video and why I was angry enough to post something so stupid. Tommy, you and some of your friends have been spreading disproven lies about me for over a year and a half. When I had false allegations made about me, it was one of the hardest times of my life, and you and your friends decided that after I went through the hell of debunking them, that you would continue to spread, joke about, and support these lies. Don't believe me that you've been doing this? Let's just hear your own best friend confirm that this has been happening.
I get why he might be mad about the lies. That group being like, he's a pedophile all the time, which again, I don't like. I think we shouldn't joke about people being pedophiles unless we actually know for sure. Because, dude, the Brighton lot, I want to stop throwing out random strays and calling people pedophiles just for cheap laughs.
Here, I definitely see where Dream is coming from. Jokes are one thing, but when you've actually been involved with serious allegations, at that point, it's pretty serious. And if somebody asks you to stop making those kind of jokes, especially a friend, I feel like the right thing to do would be to respect their wishes. And I also like that we have some kind of corroboration to at least somewhat prove that this actually happened.
In your stream you slagged off a lot of my pals. Come on, mate. I mean, my friends are all idiots, but they have bloody good hearts.
Like, yeah, I know you're upset because they call you pedos, but they've got big hearts.
And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
I don't even know what this is about. You don't provide any context or evidence to what you're saying. Tommyinnit, your racist behavior behind the scenes is unacceptable. You are a racist behind the scenes, and it's unacceptable. Shame on you.
You may notice that he left out the part where Tommy mentions George and Katie. I think that would have been a pretty good opportunity to call Tommy out for unnecessarily sliding that in there, but that's a whole nother can of worms that he doesn't want to open, and I understand that. But the next thing he says is honestly kind of an L, especially after some new information that we found out recently. It turns out Tommy wouldn't have to provide any proof that Dream was sexist behind the scenes because Dream did it himself in a massive self-report. Back when Dream did his 3-hour-long live stream, he called out another popular streamer, Ludwig. Dream would explain how he asked Ludwig to make a video on how he debunked the allegations against him, but Ludwig refused.
He said that he still essentially had potentially a negative view of me, and I was like, well, why? What's? And he said, you called one of my friends a whore.
But the real reason I didn't want to do it is what he brought up. He called one of my friends a whore. And I told him this privately. I never talked about this publicly. I never even brought up that he messaged me. Dream, after I said this, sent me back like 5 pages worth of information about the situation, defending himself, messages from the person he called a whore, and explaining the situation. All of those messages were about a different girl. I never answered him. I never replied because I was like, brother, that's not even who I was talking about. So apparently you've come into this situation now more than one time. I'm definitely not making the video. Moved on with my life. And by the way, still not making the video.
Now, I don't know for sure if this actually confirms that Dream is sexist towards women behind the scenes, but it is definitely suspicious, to say the least. At least in my opinion, do what you will with that information. I just feel like it's relevant to add before going on with Dream's video.
You're mad that I criticized your friends in a 3-hour-long live stream with screenshots and receipts of their not-so-good behavior, so you just make stuff up about my friends?
Of course, the not-so-good behavior Dream is referring to is their distasteful jokes about him. And the screenshot he shows from his stream is a DM in where he told Tommy he didn't appreciate him making those kinds of jokes. I don't know how it proves anything about his friends, but I just wanted to clarify.
I mean, you didn't have a problem interviewing Sapnap in one of your videos recently?
Sapnap! Well, Sapnap, you see, today I'm no longer Tommyinnit, famed Minecraft YouTuber. I'm actually Professor Respect. Okay, well, it's good to see you.
Oh, and you tried to interview George, but he walked away because he didn't want to be in your video. So there's 2 options. Either 1, they're not bad people, or 2, you don't care enough to not profit off of them.
Here, Dream tries to call Tommy a hypocrite by pointing out how Tommy thinks all of his friends are terrible people, while at the same time trying to interview them not long before. Dream would then give a few more examples of this.
Like, you'll be best friends with Logan Paul in private, but then the second it becomes beneficial for people to think that you don't like him, then all of a sudden you have a problem with all those shitty things that he's done.
He has booked another flight to Japan.
Yeah, that's not really how that situation went down. I covered it before. Tommyinnit, at least publicly, didn't have a problem with Logan Paul. Even during his CryptoZoo controversy, it was when Logan interviewed Trump that Tommy started to have a problem with him.
You were awful to me. When I was 16, you gave me YouTube advice, and you held that over my head for years.
I gave you YouTube advice because I thought that you were extremely talented, hardworking, and you had a big dream to be a YouTuber. And that's why with no expectations, we called for hours a day, talking about YouTube, strategies, and ideas. And I never held this over your head. Most people hearing that I helped you at all are probably hearing this for the first time.
Dream's awesome. He should, probably for the past, 8 months, once a week, me and Dream will have, a
2-hour call, and he just helps me.
Like, Tommy, there's no way that you actually believe this. Saying I was so terrible to you with no examples or anything. Like, if you don't think that my intention was to help you, then what was my intention? Why did I do all of that?
Dream does bring up a good point by bringing up the fact that Tommy does not have any proof of this. Like I said earlier, not calling him a liar, it would just be nice to have.
The Dream SMP, a lot of your success just wouldn't have happened without me.
That egotistical sentiment is exactly what you're accusing me of. I think that the Dream SMP would have not been what it was without any of the creators that were on it. Everyone, including you, made it what it was. And I said that on stream the other day.
Fair enough, I guess. I think the whole I made you accusation is pretty dumb coming from both sides. And yeah, Tommyinnit probably wouldn't be where he is without Dream, and vice versa. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. As long as, of course, you don't hold it over somebody's head. And deciding where exactly that is coming from is not easy to do.
I'm not just selling USB baby photos or lazily designed merchandise, alright? I'm doing the best with what I have.
Tommy, you say that like it's a slight on me, when my entire merch brand was built by my family, in my hometown. Like, the reason there was ever a USB flash drive sold that had pictures of me on it was because it was my mom's idea, and Tommy knows that.
The package 2.
A Dream hoodie, but with me on.
All the designers are local people working with my local family business.
Look, bro, I'm sorry. You gotta fire your mom. I'm sorry. That's mean. But, I mean, that was not a good idea, and it obviously didn't go over well. But, of course, I could see a mom who loves her son would recommend that thing. It's kind of sweet. But, yeah, considering how parasocial his fan base is, I don't think I have to explain why it's such a bad idea.
And this also let me make sure that all of my fans had a good merch experience.
That is really cool.
I didn't make the most money that way, but I'm happy that I did it. Tommy went with a merch company that actually had some really cool designs, with some very hardworking child laborers to make it possible. Unfortunately, that company also scammed a bunch of his viewers, and multiple of his creator friends got scammed and literally never got paid, and the company went bankrupt.
Yes, this is all true. Although Tommy did not knowingly and intentionally do business with a company that used child labor to make their products. Actually, if anything, he was one of the victims in a massive merch scam from a company who didn't pay their creators for their merch sales, and in many cases, it never delivered the products to the customer either. There were a ton of large creators involved in this scam, including Mr. Beast, the Misfits, and Jay Schlatt. It was a really big deal at the time. The creators involved with that company were in no way responsible for these scams or the child labor. I'll give Dream the benefit of the doubt and assume that he didn't bring this up to accuse Tommy of being a scammer. He's just trying to point out that Tommy has no right to judge his merch when there were obviously problems with his too.
Tommy essentially belittles what I do, saying that what he does with his podcast and book are somehow more valuable or important than the videos that I make, which I think is just a little sad. I'm happy making videos with my friends. That's what I've always done. And I'm a coder, and I code cool new Minecraft mods and make everything for my channels by myself. Like, I edit my own videos. I'm sure Tommy can knock out videos pretty quick because at one point he had a literal editor sweatshop where his editors made less than minimum wage, and we're also getting fans to edit the videos for free for them.
Yeah, this just isn't true. All those messages that he referenced were completely taken out of context, and after this video was released, a bunch of Tommy's editors came forward and claimed that they were paid in full for the work that they did. And the people whose DMs were used were pretty mad that they were being used against Tommy. This makes Dream look really bad. And with all the silly things he's been criticized for, so far mostly being conjecture, in my opinion, this is the worst thing he's done so far. This makes him look disingenuous, and would understandably lead many to believe he's not acting in good faith. It seems to me like he's just trying to find whatever he can to clap back at Tommy, even if that means crafting some narrative that doesn't have any factual grounds.
I don't get the high and mighty. Like, it's not just in this video. Like, recently Tommy's been emboldened that he is the savior of YouTube or something.
So I was walking down the street and I thought to myself, oh man, this internet ain't so well.
I get where Dream is coming from on that last point, partly because that music video was cringe as fuck, but also because Tommy's perspective as kind of being the arbiter of morality on the internet, he can come off as kind of pretentious sometimes. Not that I hate everything he does, I actually like quite a bit of it, and have found myself watching Tommyinnit a lot more the past few months than the past few years, but there have been times where I'm like, alright dude, chill out, you're a YouTuber, it's not that deep.
Then Tommy says something I don't even know what. Just listen to this.
You harassed my mum as she was going through a divorce. The worst time of her life. You are like a proper movie villain.
Okay guys, I'm gonna reveal to you this harassment. This one message is the only contact that I have ever had with Tommy's mom.
You harassed my mum. Proper movie villain.
This message starts with, Just thought I'd let you know that I don't agree with lots of people replying to you, and I don't want you to be attacked at all.
You harassed my mum.
And the context to this is that Tommy's mom was arguing with Dream fans on Twitter about Tommy making fun of my stutter in a video. Some of my fans were upset, and she was replying to them. I sent her this singular message on Twitter, letting her know that I didn't agree with my fans that Tommy's portrayal of my stutter was ableist, but also letting her know that I didn't like the rest of the video because it was causing additional harassment for me that I was already getting because this was at the peak of the allegations.
I think it's also important to point out that a lot of the cringe from this situation doesn't just come from Dream and Tommyinnit. It also comes from their ruthless stands. Attacking someone's mom because their son made a joke is insane.
And Tommy, of course, didn't show any evidence for any of this stuff because it makes it look ridiculous if he did. Like, he literally says that I'm a cartoon villain for this DM.
You are like a proper movie villain.
Yeah, I think calling that one DM harassment is a pretty big exaggeration. I mean, it's a really long DM, but when I think of harassment, I think of relentless, repeated, targeted insults or DMs over a long period of time. A lot of people are still calling this DM weird. Of course, on the surface level, DMing someone's mom is pretty weird, but it was all in good faith, more of an apology than anything.
And I mean, you talk about how terrible of a person I am while leaving up videos with my sister and mom, and of course dozens with me, while lying and exaggerating about me harassing your mom and bringing up her divorce that I didn't even know about and have nothing to do with. So Tommy, I'm not going to suggest that you go to therapy like you did to me.
You need to get off the internet now. Go and get some therapy.
Because you feel strongly enough to make an entire dedicated video on your channel hating on me, you can go ahead and take down every video of yours that I'm in, and I'll take down every video of mine that you're in. Because if you have a backbone, you wouldn't want to show support to such a no good person.
And that's pretty much the end of Dream's video, and for the most part, the end of this situation. Finally, Tommyinnit and Jack Manifold did talk about it a little bit on their podcast, and you can go watch that if you want, but I'm done. This is taking too long. I know I said at the beginning that I was sitting on this because nobody could seem to shut up, and at the time that was true, but it's been a few days since anything has actually happened, and I got to the point where I was just bored of covering it. I mean, this situation, it's so avoidable and unnecessary. Dream should not have posted that meme. He should not have made that Reddit post. He should not have done a 3-hour live stream. But at the same time, Tommy probably shouldn't have made that video either. Literally nothing was resolved that couldn't have been talked about in DMs. This did not need to be public. And this all started with Mizkif. I don't understand why they have to fight over something so dumb. Why can't we just fight over our nationalities like the good old days? That's a joke. I'm sorry. None of this really changes my opinion on Dream or Tommyinnit. All of this kind of confirmed what we already knew about them. They're cringe and a little petty. But hey, that's just what I think. Dream drama in the Big 25 is crazy. It's a big day for the unemployed. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.